I am Bryon Williams. I am a graduate of Kansas State University, 2009, and have received my degree in economics from Kansas City, Kansas.
My name is Vanessa Acosta Carillo. I am a military brat with a family from Puerto Rico, and I attended Kansas State from 2006 to 2009 prior to attending nursing school.
One thing that I learned from Kansas State University, to me, the most important thing that I learned was actually outside the classroom. It was about myself and about what blackness truly means to me and what it means to be a black man in society, how to navigate spaces where there's a lot of people who look like me and a little bit of people who look like me. And that's been something that I've been able to use professionally as I've continued to work in higher education, to work with communities from really all around the world. How do I be my authentic self in those spaces? I don't think I knew how to do that before K-State, and specifically my experiences in our Black Student Union.
One thing that I learned while being at K-State is just to speak up. That was the biggest thing that I learned being here. Prior to coming to K-State, I just was quiet. I learned how to go with the flow, keep my head down, do my work. I met amazing people here like Bryon, who pushed me out of my comfort zone to join exec boards when I had no idea. I didn't know what that entailed, and I just met amazing people that really made me push my boundaries out and be okay with being a little uncomfortable when we did silent protest. I had never been part of any of those type of things. I was just the very quiet, go with the flow. Okay, you don't like me, I'm gonna go this way. I never tipped the boat. And so going on into my professional life, I've learned that it's okay to ask questions because I was in BSU and part of these organizations here at K-State. I've learned that you don't have to go with the flow. If you have a great idea, you can speak up professionally, politely, and make some change. I've truly learned that from being at K-State, how to make a difference.
BSU developed friendships. It was a vehicle and a place to just be able to meet people who were, I don't even want to say like-minded, because there's differences even within ourselves, different belief systems and things like that. But there were some commonalities as well that you were able to take hold of. And I'll be honest, I met my best friends in BSU. Was very close with the individuals, especially the ones that I served with on exec board. I wish y'all mind me saying this on camera, but I was at Vanessa's when she gave birth. You know, I was at the hospital. At least I tried to be, but she took forever. But you know, this random person I didn't know 3 years prior. You know, it was something really special and unique. The bonds that would be forged within our BSU. I've been in weddings of people I've met within BSU. I just officiated a wedding of BSU members. So definitely lifelong friendships.
I would definitely have to agree with that. The friends that I've made through BSU have all been lifelong friends. My best friend, who is the one asking questions here today, Tony Owens. And so growing up, I only had my brother. It was me, my brother, my mom and dad. We moved around everywhere. Those were my three constants. And so coming to K-State, forming these friendships with people in BSU, that was my new core family. And I did everything with all of these people. I did life, I cried, I laughed, I had fun, I went to parties, but then I also worked hard and studied hard. And these are the same people that are now my professional friends as well outside of K-State. I have colleagues, there's quite a few of us nurses from BSU, and we still call each other and piggyback and tell nurses stories. And yeah, these are, I don't know where I would be without BSU. I don't know how my life would have been if I just came to school, studied, and left. I don't know who I would have in my life. Yeah.
It'd be a lot more boring, I'll tell you that.
Yes, that's true.
At least for me. I've actually worked with BSU for probably about 12 years before I ended up leaving the university to move to Kansas City. But specifically during my presidency, I was president from 2007 to 2008. That was going into my senior year, and I had led organizations, but I knew BSU was something special, and I was scared to death to do it. But having everyone put confidence in me to put me in that position really gave me the ability to move forward on that. One of the things that we wanted to address, and this is 2007, 2008, so camera phones were not really a thing. You know, the pictures were blurry, like you're taking a picture of a UFO sighting. You know, that's how blurry these pictures were on these camera phones. And Twitter was basically brand new. But we knew that there were things happening both on our campus and across the country that was not given coverage. So this is like pre-Black Lives Matter, pre-being able to catch things on film. But we would hear about how, for example, little girl Ayanna Stanley Jones, she got out at her grandmother's house and was killed by police. And it didn't get any coverage because they actually raided the wrong house and shot her while she was on the couch. This got real bleak real quick. But stuff like that was happening. There were being nooses found in professors' homes, professors' lockers, and there was no coverage. There was definitely no mainstream coverage. So we did a protest, a silent protest called X Out of Society, where the whole day we wore black when we put these white X's on our chest, and we refused to speak the whole day, except at the rally we had outside in Bosco Plaza. And to be able to put some awareness about black issues, like, hey, we're not invisible. These things are happening. That was the highlight of my BSU career, but also that's probably the vehicle that allowed us to win Most Outstanding BSU in the Big 12 Conference that year, is because it was something that it wasn't just BSU students doing it. We did a big information campaign. It was white students, black students, Hispanic students. It was a large group of people who were supporting. We had created allies in the midst of invisible turmoil at that time, and I'm really proud that we were able to do that back in 2007.
I was going to use the same example, but you said it way better than I could have ever said it. And the one reason, and I'll be brief on this one because I can come up with a different example. One reason why that one stood out to me is because I just remember being so proud to be there, because I'd never done anything like that. And even my mother, who's not from the States, didn't experience the same type of racism that we had been seeing and hearing and experiencing. In Puerto Rico, she also protested in college. It was just what you did. If you saw something wrong, students would get together and they would protest. And my mother was so proud of it. And I didn't realize how proud she was, but she let me know after I told her what we were doing. But one thing, speaking of nostalgia, last night at the gala, when we sang the Black National Anthem, I got choked up, and I didn't realize how important that song is.
That the song, the Black National Anthem. I don't know how long we've been singing that song, but I know that we were singing it in 2003. I know that Brandon Clark, former president, when he was 1998, was singing that song. We sung that song at every meeting, and it was an anchor to our beliefs. Like, you know, one, we are somebody, we're connected, but we're also going to overcome some of these things that society is throwing at us. And we're going to do it together. But the Black National Anthem, I mean, it's a spiritual thing. I think it's a deeply spiritual thing. If you look at the legacy of the organization, I think that has to be right at the center, the Black National Anthem. When you go into what's now 227, it was 212 when we were in school. When you go into that room and you see that they got pictures of Buck O'Neill and Barack Obama and all these other historical figures littered across the room. Why do they put it there? Because BSU's been meeting in that room since the dawn of time, I feel like. So it's become a space that has become sacred. There's a sacredness to it.
So good. I didn't know I was going to get that emotional talking about it.
You about to look. How did it feel coming back with that trophy? This is before they became standard, and it was like a piece of, this is how we know we're all 90s babies. But it was like this octagon thing. We called it the aggro crag because that's what it reminded us of from, what was that, Guts, the TV show Guts. But we just felt so excited because it was like we had won, a tournament, right? And I was beaming with pride as the president because I knew that it was a concerted effort. There was a need to, we had to do a lot to get that award. I mean, we did the events, we did the protests, we brought the speakers, all those types of things. But there was things within BSU, just to lift the veil a little bit, where I think that we had got to a place where we were starting to question our identity. There was even conversations, so we were facilitating conversations in BSU at that point. Why do we need a BSU? Why should BSU exist? Shouldn't we just integrate and those types of things? Because people didn't really understand a lot of the structural and systemic barriers that existed, right? So being able from the beginning of that year to take the membership from one space where it's like, okay, BSU's fun to do some Black history stuff, to saying, no, the purpose of this group is to create change on a campus that needs it and in a society that will benefit from it, right? So that was a culmination of all that. And I was sitting next to my vice president and, trying not to get choked up. But I knew that it was because of the hard work of the exec board that we got there. And nothing against the other schools, because all the other schools that participated in that, they had some really strong presentations and some really great accolades as well. But I knew what we did. And it was great to be able to bring that home to K-State and say, look, you're not just messing with just average students. These are the best and brightest Black students in the Big 12. We can say that. We have the proof, so.
Going to Big 12 that year, representing K-State, being part of the exec board with Bryon, under Bryon, I started off just being so nervous. This was my first time doing anything like this. I went from doing an exec, just being pushed, or not pushed, but being convinced to do something out of my comfort zone, to then being successful as a group doing it, and then going to present, and then winning an award. All these things were all firsts for me. And I was very proud. I mean, I was beating my chest, coming back. I was just so excited talking about it. One of my classes, when I came back, it was the first class after coming back from the Big 12. It was my philosophy class, and I wish I remembered my professor's name. He was amazing. It was one of my favorite classes. And
John Exdale?
I think that was
Philosophy and Race, John Exdale?
No, philosophy and race. It was like philosophy.
Oh,
like
okay, sure,
just philosophy. And I showed up to class early because I just was still running off that energy from winning that weekend. And he was like, "Why are you here so early?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm just excited to be here." And he was like, "Well, what happened this weekend? You look so happy." And I told him, and that was the end of our conversation. The class starts, and he starts off the class with, "One of our students needs to be recognized today." And he had me stand up in front of the class and just tell everyone what had just happened with the Big 12. And he was just as proud of us as I was. And so, but yes, pride is number one.
Social life at K-State was great. I have always been a pretty eclectic person, so I have very interesting things that I like that I think is interesting. People think yours might be maybe not. But I was doing everything, a little bit of everything. I was excited to hang out with my fraternity brothers. I remember Alpha Phi Alpha as well, and we would go over to the icebox, and you would just hang out, really. You know, you would talk, you would joke, you'd laugh, you'd have people over, you'd play games. There's this... Then there was the parties. There's this place called the Warehouse back in the day that was literally a warehouse. And you would have people from all across the school, all across the state really come and just dance all night. I mean, those parties would go from like 10 to 4, 6 hours. People wouldn't show up at 10, but you know, those were great experiences. But then also, when I think of social life, I have to also kind of blend that with my spiritual life. You know, there was a spiritual center to my undergraduate experience with our ministry Workers of Wisdom, and there was a lot of overlap between that and BSU, being able to talk about spirituality, but also through the lens of at least I think that we did, through the lens of blackness. What does it mean to be black and Christian, right? You know, they call it intersectionality now. That the word wasn't really being used back then, but that's what it was, you know, and dealing with those issues. So it was really, really varied. It's very all over the place. People probably would say I was, but I enjoyed every moment of it. Just hanging out with my friends, going out to eat, just going over somebody's house and just sitting there and just talking about nothing. Or not talking at all. Sometimes we would just
putting
sit there.
your comic books in the plastic wraps.
Oh, I have a comic book collector. I would lie to my friends and say, "Hey, come over. I'll cook for you. Let's hang out." And they would help me. And they get there, and there'd be a stack of comic books, like 50, 60 of them, and we have to put them in sleeves. And so I would con them in there to help me put my comic books up. So stuff like that, you know. I guess I probably didn't have to lie about it, but they would have came anyway. But you know. I knew that they didn't want to do it. But that's what friends are for, right?
That is what friends are for, Bryon. Social life at K-State was amazing. The time of my life. And it happened at the right time in my life and the right phase of my life. It was what it was. I had a great time then. I don't feel the need to do that anymore. I think because I partied so much during those years. And so, and the Warehouse, amazing. The Icebox, which was a house where a bunch of alphas lived, and there was parties there and then after parties there. And, but also I always liked just bringing people that didn't look like us to all of our events. I lived with 2 other girls that didn't look anything like us, that didn't have the same interests as us. And even some of my coworkers, I would just try and bring them along to see what we were doing, to know that they could also be included in our fun. This was not just for minorities, even, you know? And so I remember bringing my roommates to probates and bringing them to the Icebox. I remember bringing some of my roommates. I mean, they just had a blast. We were very inclusive. We were a very inclusive group, but it just made it so easy to have fun because it was a safe place for everyone. You know, people that look like you, people that don't look like you. If you were hanging out with us, it was a safe place to have the most fun. And I had nothing to complain about. I had just wholehearted fun all the time. You know, I have nothing bad to say about it, but I will say, so being a Hispanic and being raised by 2 Puerto Ricans, and every day you look in the mirror and I see a Puerto Rican, and people look at me and they don't see a Puerto Rican, and I just thought that was the oddest thing. I was like, how do I not look Puerto Rican? I mean, I don't understand. This is the only thing I've known myself to be. And so it was here in Manhattan, Kansas. I was maybe not Hispanic enough for the Hispanics on campus, because we don't have a very big Caribbean population here, or we didn't back then. And or not being black enough for the blacks. But that was my fear coming here, because in high school, that's what I experienced. I experienced not being black enough for the blacks. Lucky enough, my high school was full of Puerto Ricans, so I was like, well, then these are my people. Then I'm not gonna try and hang out with you guys. So coming here and being with people that look like me, even though they're not Puerto Rican, and just being accepting of me. Even once I knew I was Puerto Rican, I mean, people ask me to speak Spanish all the time. That's the only thing that made me feel a little different than other people. I was treated the exact same. It wasn't even a big deal here. So with Puerto Ricans, we are Native American, African, and Spanish. Those are our combo. There's people that look like white Puerto Ricans. Those people typically might have way more Spaniard in them, and that's why they look like the way they do, blue eyes, blonde hair. And then we have the ones like my grandfather, who is very dark-skinned with bright blue eyes, and my family on my dad's side, definitely, you can tell there's way more African on that side of the family. And so I just wanted to know what my percentages are, because my mom's side of the family, it's the rainbow spectrum. I have aunts that are extremely light-skinned, all the way down to uncles that are very dark-skinned. And I just wanted to know my own percentage, because I just look a little different. And so with, I thought I would have more percent African. I had 32, 34, something like that. It was in the low 30s%, and it was West Africa, so it was included. Mali and Nigeria were the two main countries there. Then 54% was Canary Islands, which is Portugal and Spain, that area, which was not surprising, because that's what we know. We know Africa, Spain, and then the other the leftover percent, which was, I don't know, 10, 11, something like that, was native. It just said native, but because I know that the Indians in Puerto Rico were Taino Indians, that is my assumption, that is the native that represents. And so it just made sense. I was like, okay, well then I'm officially Puerto Rican for sure. Proof on paper.
Like when she started, I thought she was going to be like, I'm like 80% Spanish or something. But it doesn't matter. Vanessa's one of us. I'm claiming her 100%. 30% or not, I'm claiming her 100%. Vanessa's, it's not even, I mean, the experience comes through the way that people, all this is socially constructed anyway. So the experience comes from the way that people treat you when they look at you, and they, like you said, they just automatically make an assumption about you. So even if she was 90%, Canary Island or something, people see a black woman and they're going to treat her like a black woman. So I, as a black man, feel the need to make sure that, I don't want to say protect her, because she can protect herself, but, be there for my people, and that's what Vanessa is. But when you get to know somebody, that's the beauty of life and beauty of humanity. Once you get to know somebody, some of those things start to fall by the wayside, I think of Vanessa and love Vanessa as Vanessa, first. So, I guess that's my reaction, is that, that's really cool. She figured it out. I want to do it too. But, it's Vanessa. She's the homie,
Thank you.
I hosted Miss Black and Gold at least 5 times. It might have been 6. Let me go. I hosted with Deborah twice, hosted with Angie twice, and hosted with Anita once. So 5 times. 5-time host. I remember Alpha Alpha. I crossed those burning sands in fall 2004. 4 Frozen Prodigies. Hasn't been the same since, But one of our signature events was the Miss Black and Gold pageant, which is a scholarship pageant that is supposed to fight against these stereotypes that society puts on beauty, that the society puts on culture, society puts on intellect. And when we have our Black and Gold pageant, we have women that look like everything, and all of them are beautiful. So dark skin, light skin, slender, thick, everything, and we put them out there, and they put themselves out there, and it's a thing that I love so much, because you see women who I know had confidence issues before then. I remember, I'm not going to mention her name, but there was a woman that was in the pageant one time, and she didn't want to do her talent because she was just scared. She's like, nobody's going to like it. She's like, it's not going, because it was very different, you know. And I remember having to be in the back, just basically being her hype man. And eventually I got her hype enough, and she like really ran out on the stage, and, you know, and that was just so cool to me to see that. Vanessa was in the pageant. Got to miss black gold right here in front of me, you know. But what it does it's great for the fraternity, but it's really, I think, show society who we are. Anytime we can show society who we are and stunt a little bit, I'm all about it.
Being a contestant in the Miss Black and Gold pageant was an experience all on its own. Nothing else compares to it. You know, there's walking practice. I didn't know I had to practice how to walk. I thought I've known how to walk since I was 1. And I was walking wrong. So it was fun. Luckily, my group that I did Black and Gold with was full of people I already knew through BSU. Mm-hmm. So it was just a group of girls that we were already close with. We can be vulnerable with each other when we were saying how frustrated or tired we were to come to practice, and how hard it was to sell tickets, and like nervous about the question and answer part. What do you think the question's gonna be? Oh my goodness, what kind of answer are we gonna have? And then also, the bathing suit part, because you hit it right on the nose. Some of us did have confidence issues. As beautiful as we all were, we didn't all feel the need that we could rock strutting in a bathing suit. And so, and we did it all together. We jumped those little hurdles together as a team, and had a successful night. But those bonds are also where I remember Angela Moise's talent. Because my talent was gonna be to sing. I was gonna sing a Spanish song. And I was like, oh, I'm not singing with Angela singing in here. And she killed it. And so I did a poem, which I was very proud of. But it was amazing. I didn't know some of these girls had some of these talents. You wouldn't know just from hanging out with them, even partying with them or going to BSU with them. These were hidden talents for some people, and it was just very nice to see it shine and it be, the light was shining on us that day, and it was everyone just had a good time. I enjoyed it. I would do it again 10 years ago. 10 years ago. I would do it again 10 years ago.
That old alumni chapter is going too. That's what you want to do. It's important to me to be a Black alumni of a university, period, because we need to have more role models to show. I recruit students from underserved areas, historically underserved areas, and to be able to go to a high school, to a middle school, and say, hey, student 2, I don't have the test score, I don't have this, I don't have that. So I didn't have any of that either, and I'm working on a PhD now, and I walk these same. That was my locker right there, and being able to show them that no, you can do it. It's not easy, but most things in life aren't. But you can do it. That's very important to me. But specifically to be alumni of Kansas State University and to come back and to continue to be involved, I believe that this university has a heart for students. I believe that there is consensus being built about what that looks like, and it's ever evolving. But I also understand through my work and just through my understanding of K-State that the structural and systemic inequities that exist on this campus, just like they do throughout society, continue to evolve. So the things that the students are dealing with now, I actually didn't have to deal with. They say there's a phrase in the Black church, another level, another devil, right? So even when it seems like we're taking steps forward to do things, things continue to get more complicated and more entrenched at this university. So I think that our BSU now is better than what it was when I was running it. I think that it's in a better place. But I also know that students may feel like I'm going through this alone or nobody's ever seen this before. And I want them to know that we're with you and that we understand that you have to continue to fight. And you're not alone in that fight. I want to fight that fight with you.
I've always been proud of Bleeding Purple. You know, I love K-State with every being of myself, and coming back for me is all about reaching back. And so since coming here, I've reached out to a few that I know were interested in nursing here. Because in my clinic, I'm the only one that looks like me in my clinic. You know, I am a nurse coordinator and I run a clinic and I'm the only one that looks like me. There's no one else that looks like me there. And I'm lucky enough to have the opportunity, if I want someone to come shadow me, I can have them come shadow me. You know, I can just say, yes, you're gonna come shadow me. And since I'm at that point, I want to bring these people, I want to reach back and bring them forward with me, because if they see me doing this, they know that they can do it. And one of the previous BSU presidents, I wish I could remember her name. She was one of the MCs last night.
Delshay Roberts.
Yes. So Delshay, she heard that I was a nurse. I think we were talking about it maybe in front of her or something, and she was like, I would love to talk to you. I was like, well, what do you want to do? She was like, I'm thinking about doing nursing. I was like, well, then come shadow me. Come see what this is. Come see what I do. And I've also worked in other parts of the hospital. Come let me show you what your other options are here. And I'm sure we'll set that up. This gentleman gave me a card. I think he works in administration. He gave me a card. Yes. And he gave, because he wants me to reach out to the student advisor for nursing here at K-State, so I can, talk to her about student opportunities, that people can come see me anytime. But that's what's important about coming back. I wouldn't have been able to make those connections to bring people forward with me. And so that's the most important part to me about coming to these events. I want people to see what I do and that they can do it too. Yes. I can always be close to Bryon.
I'm gonna lean like this.
Vanessa.
My name is Vanessa Acosta Carillo. I went to K-State from 2006 to 2009.
And I'm Bryon Williams. I went to K-State from 2003 to 2009. And we are K-State Black Alumni. That I? No. Yeah. That was